everybody! We're back again with our Animals Around the World series, and we're still doing fish around the world. And for fish, we're just doing one fish at a time, and we're focusing on getting a lot of facts about the one fish and also making a diagram of the fish, just like you would do for your research report. Oh yeah, and Emily's watching again. Yeah, see, Alexis is noticing. Yes, and if you're joining us today, we'd love to know what your name is and where you're from and how old you are. That'd be great. So we're going to talk about seahorses today, which is my favorite fish. I love seahorses. They're so cute. Now, all seahorses have three main characteristics. Can you tell us, Alexis, what are they?
All fish have gills. All fish have fins. And all fish are cold-blooded.
Yep, those are our three main characteristics with fish. And that's one thing when we've been doing our diagrams is we've always drawn where their gills are. So those facts are actually on page 99 in your My Animal Notebook, which is part of the Abeka 3rd grade curriculum. We're actually on page number 27 for your fish. So what we've been doing is we've been writing our facts on the colored side, and we've been drawing our fish on the white side. So our title is Seahorses, or you could put Seahorse, either way. That is actually one word. It's not two different words, but it is actually a compound word because it has sea and horse. So we're going to write Seahorse at the very top of your fish page. Seahorse is spelled S-E-A for the word sea. Horse, H-O-R-S-E. And if you want to make it plural, you add an S at the end. So we've got a lot of fun books. There were so many books about seahorses that were just a lot of fun, but I chose a few that had really nice pictures and not that many words. So I thought it'd be great for sharing those. And then Alexis, there's even two that Alexis are going to read. So we're going to kind of go back and forth. I'll read a seahorse story, and Alexis is going to read a seahorse story. And then I'll read one, and she'll read one. And then so we've got 5 seahorse books. So pay attention to those facts. That's what you're wanting to do right now. You're wanting to gather all the facts you can from our seahorse books. So our first seahorse book is by Sylvia M. James. She took some beautiful pictures as well as wrote all the words and facts about seahorses. What is a seahorse? You can see there's some different kinds of fish here on this page because there are many different kinds of fish. We learned they have gills, they have fins, and they're cold-blooded. Well, a seahorse is a kind of fish, my very favorite kind of fish. Whenever we go to an aquarium, I always go straight for the seahorses. So there are about 32 different kinds of seahorses, and here are just some of them. This is the pygmy seahorse. We have the spotted seahorse. You see if I move back like this? And then the tiger tail seahorse, barber seahorse, giant Pacific seashore, the white seahorse, the long snouted seahorse, crown seahorse, dwarf seahorse, the lime seahorse, the thorny seahorse, the potbelly seahorse, the kinds of seahorse. And I'm going to put it up a little bit closer so you can see these pictures. But look at all the different colors. They're all about the same shape. The shape isn't too different on the different kinds of seahorses. But their coloring is. Their coloring ranges, just like other fish, their coloring really ranges all across the rainbow. Not only that, their sizes, they can be from 1 inch to a 13-inch seahorse. So there's the giant Pacific seahorse at 12 inches. Here's the little dwarf seahorse at only 1.5 inches. The white seahorse is about 5 inches, which is average. And then this little pygmy seahorse is even less than 1 inch. Here's the pot-bellied seahorse. This is probably the most common seahorse that a lot of people will recognize. Some are even as big as the bananas. Like a banana is a good example.
Big.
So seahorses like to live in the warm, shallow waters, but they actually live all around the world, all across the world, in the warm, shallow waters. They live off of every continent except for Antarctica. There are no seahorses that live in the colder waters like that, but they do live in North America and Europe. They just don't go all the way up to the Arctic Circle. And they only live in salt water. There are no seahorses that live in fresh water. So here's the parts of the seahorse's body. So the seahorse, as you can see, has a very long snout. That's a very distinct feature with a little mouth at the end. And the seahorse's mouth is right at the tip of his snout. The seahorse uses his snout like a straw, very much like a butterfly in the proboscis.
And an elephant.
And an elephant, yeah. So a seahorse sucks up food with its long snout, like drinking smoothies, right?
Mm-hmm.
A seahorse has just one eye on each side of its head. A seahorse can look at 2 different places at one time. So try that.
Weird.
Let's see, can you do that? Try to look out the window and over there. Can't really do it, can you?
I actually kind of can. I can look at the window and there.
Yeah, you can kind of see you have what's called peripheral vision on the side, where if you look straight ahead, I can still see that you're eating your granola bar. And I can see that the dog's walking over there, but we still can't see it 2 places, like the seahorse does with the 2 eyes. A seahorse does not have teeth. They only suck up their food through their little snout. Here are some of their different fins. And these names of fins are going to sound familiar. A lot of the fish have had these same fins. The pectoral fins, the interesting about this though, on the other fish, the pectoral fins have been more along like they don't have shoulders, but where the shoulders would be on a fish, about is where the pectoral, like where our pectoral muscles are. Whereas on a seahorse, their pectoral fins are actually on the side of their face. Isn't that interesting? Well, they also have a dorsal fin, which is on the back. They have an anal fin on the front, and they have their tail, but their tail is not a fin. They have a very distinct tail. A seahorse swims by moving its back fins. That dorsal fin is how it propels through the water. A seahorse's back fin actually moves faster than a person's eye can see. So it's moving so fast, kind of like a hummingbird, how their wings move really, really fast. That's the seahorse. The dorsal fin moves so fast, like I can't even move my hand that fast because I can see my hand moving. But for us, it just looks like it's staying stationary because it's moving so fast.
Let me see.
Isn't that cool? So this will be a good picture for us to use for when we do our diagrams. So I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm going to keep my finger there. So a seahorse will actually curl its tail around something to stay in one place. Some seahorses can actually change color. By changing color to match what's around them, they can hide from their enemies.
Just so like here's some squid.
Yeah, look at these awesome camouflage. Like this one, you really can barely see where he is. You want to see, Alexis? Look at that. Look at how pretty that white is, too. And that one, you really can barely see. But so they can actually change color like a chameleon. Oh, baby seahorses. Look at the belly. So a seahorse will have many babies at one time. Look at the little belly full of seahorses. Isn't that cute? They almost look like little squiggle worms coming out. But guess what? They're the only species that I know of, at least, where the daddy has the babies. All other species, mommies are the ones that have the babies. But with a seahorse, the daddy has the babies.
Humans.
Yep, even humans, you're right. But the daddy does.
They probably blend in like this red pencil. You can barely.
Yep, that would be like a good seahorse camouflage, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So here's this cute little baby seahorse. It reminds me of a little kangaroo Joey popping out of its mama's pouch. So the male, again, there's his pouch. How the male pouch will actually get bigger as the babies grow. And look, here's some little babies just kind of coming out, floating around. The babies will swim out of the pouch when they're born. So they'll grow inside the pouch, and then when they're born, they actually come and they will swim around in the ocean. Isn't that kind of neat? So that's a great fact to write down about the dad gives birth. And if you want to
exactly what I was writing.
Oh, good. See? And then she also wrote no teeth. And then it just swallows like a straw. Well, those are great facts that you gathered from that book. So now let's see. I'm going to let Alexis read a book here. So what I'll do is I'll hold the pages. Or should we flip it around? Oh, no, this one actually I'm reading.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Then you're going to read the next book. Sorry. So a baby seahorse. Anybody know what a baby seahorse is called?
A pup.
Do you know? Oh, a pup is a good guess. Pup is a good guess. We've had some fish that have been pups, like the shark pups. But actually the seahorse, baby seahorse, is called, I know this is backwards for you.
Fudge. Oh, a fry.
A fry, like a French fry. So a little baby seahorse is called a fry. That's another great fact, that the baby seahorse is called a fry. So this is actually more about just the baby seahorses, the fries. I wonder, can you see that? I wonder if everyone can see that okay. I think they can. Actually, this might be a good book I might do when we turn around. So you know what? I'm going to save that one for towards the end. And I'm going to do this one. This is a good book. Some of them are good for reading on screen, like this one, because it has the picture on one side and the words on the other. But this one has so much intertwined, I think, and it's a small book. It might be good to do it when I turn the camera around. So there's that beautiful seahorse there. Isn't that pretty? So the seahorse tails. Seahorses live near the ocean floor. Like most fish, they have tails. But seahorses don't use their tails to swim. Remember, which fin do they use to swim?
The dorsal fin that goes like this.
Good, yep, the dorsal fin. And it moves so fast, just like she said. Oh, and there's their little snout. We heard about that snout in the other book. Seahorses will use their tails to hold onto seagrass and coral. They use their snouts to suck tiny floating animals from the water, called the plankton, right? And xyloplankton and zooplankton. Seahorses eat all day long. Because you can imagine, like even if humans, if we didn't have teeth and couldn't really eat a lot, we'd kind of be probably drinking smoothies about all day long to get in the right amount of calories for the day. So that's kind of what they're doing. They're drinking their ocean smoothies all day long. So let's see, slow swimmers. Seahorses are slow swimmers. They have that fin on their back called the, what's it called?
Dorsal fin.
The dorsal fin. And they can actually flutter 35 times in 1 second.
Wait a minute.
That's not 1 minute, 1 second. So 1/1000. In that amount of time, they've already fluttered 35 times.
Let's try this. 1/1000, only 10.
Yeah, see? So it's 3.5 times as fast as that. That's pretty amazing. Well, seahorses will actually use their tails to hitch a ride with floating seaweed. And then they can actually travel long distances without swimming because they're not really strong swimmers and they're not fast swimmers either. I know you're trying to go faster, aren't you? This is another thing. Now, some have larger ridges than other, but you can see, look at the ridges on the back. Aren't those really cool? A seahorse's body is covered in bony ridges, and they can change color to blend in with the environment. You can see, look at those beautiful ridges. This one almost looks like it's like has lights on it, doesn't it?
Whoa, holy crap.
That's pretty.
Probably the spiked seahorse.
Oh, and here's the close-up of their eyeball. Look at that eye there. That is really cool. Look at the pretty colors, the blue and the yellow. Seahorses can move their eyes in opposite directions because they can look for food with one eye and predators with the other. That's another fact that we heard in the other book, but a great fact to write down, that they can actually look in 2 different directions at the same time. That's really good. So the seahorses do mate for life, just like some penguins do. The couple will meet every morning, and then they link their tails together and swim. So they have their little morning date every morning.
Morning date every
Right.
morning.
Go ahead and write the fact about the eyes, how they can look in 2 different spots at one time. So here we have that pouch. And remember, is that the male or the female? Oh, that's right, she's writing now. So that's the male. The daddy is the one who has the baby. So male seahorses have a pouch like a kangaroo. And the female will put the eggs in her mate's pouch. He can actually have 2,000, hear that again, 2,000 babies in the pouch at one time. That's a lot of babies. Look how pretty this one is. Look at that purple. Almost looks like an amethyst, doesn't it? So seahorses are actually pretty noisy. They make growling and clicking noises. Look, isn't that pretty? Such pretty colors. Now this is what we find is when we're reading different books, they will have different facts, yeah. So fun facts. There are 47 kinds of seahorses. And if you remember, our previous book said 32. But I could tell that this was an older book because when I saw the number 32, I remember hearing that it was more than that. But because that's an older book, they only knew of 32 back in, let's see, I wonder when this was published, if it tells us. So this one was published in 2002, not that long ago. So back in 2002, they only knew of the 32. Whereas this book here was published, this I think is definitely a newer one. But that's something we like to find is when we find different facts, we like to see, well, which one, when they publish. Oh, here we go. Here's a publishing. This is 2018. So this was only published a couple of years ago. So that's why there's 47 kinds of seahorses. A baby seahorse is called a fry. A group of seahorses called a herd, like a herd of cattle. That's interesting. And remember, with a lot of fish, it's called a school as a group of fish.
Young seahorse eats about 3,000 pieces of food a day.
That's a lot, isn't it? 3,000 pieces of food.
There's like plankton that are like not even this big.
Right, and that's why they're eating all day long to get all 3,000 pieces of food in. So I'll leave that open so you can look at the facts or write down some of the facts. And I'll read this book while you're doing your facts. And then I'm going to let Alexis read a book, and then I'm going to read the one about the baby seahorses. So what is a seahorse? Is it a horse? No, it's a fish. Have you ever seen a fish that reminds you of a farm animal? That's probably a seahorse. A seahorse is a kind of fish. It has a long, slender body and a curled tail. Now this book, again, there are about 35 kinds of seahorses. I wonder when this one was published. This one is, why don't I see the date on here? Oh, 2010. So this one was in between the two. And so, yeah, it has 35, which is more than 32, but not quite the 47. So they live in coral reefs or seagrass near the ocean shore. Can you guess why these fish are called seahorses? It actually comes from the word hippocampus, which actually means horse and sea dragon, is the Greek word. So here's the seahorse size. Did you know that the small seahorses are about the size of a quarter? So they can be like less than an inch. One of the smallest seahorses is the dwarf seahorse. One of the largest seahorses is the big-bellied seahorse. And they average about 12 inches, but actually they can get over, I think the largest one on record was almost 14 inches. So that'd be like the size of your ruler plus 2 inches. But their average size is like the size of your ruler. Here's the seahorse skin here. So what do you think their skin feels like? Just by guessing. We have our doggie wants to come say hi. Come here, sweetie. She wants to come to say hi. I'll just let her stay here, honey. All right, so what do you think their skin looks like? Or feels like, I should say.
Like Polly's fur.
You think it feels like fur?
I mean, like smushy and soft.
Yeah, let's see. So actually, no two seahorses look the same. They have patterns of bumps. Oops, let me turn that a little bit. Patterns of bumps and spines on their heads. And that's special to each seahorse. So like a lot of the creatures God made, they are each one unique. Most types of fish have smooth scales. Instead, seahorses have skin stretched over their small plates of bone. And this kind of makes them look bumpy. So it's not that their skin is that way, it's their bone structure inside of them. So a seahorse's bony plates can be very tough or prickly. For this reason, some birds and crabs will not eat seahorses. Because just imagine, like, when you're eating something with texture, like, do you want it to, like, kind of be smooth in your mouth and creamy? Or would you want to eat, like, something that's gritty and sandy? So it's the same thing with the seahorses. They have a very hard texture to their skin. So moving forward, did you know that seahorses do not have ears? Make sure you're writing facts, honey. That's a good fact to write down. Did you know that seahorses do not have ears? If you look closely, you will see flaps on the side of their head, but they're small fins. Remember how we talked about that those are actually their pectoral fins? Even though you would think pectoral fins would be down by their shoulders like they are in most, or their shoulder area. They don't really have shoulders. But like on the other fish, their pectoral fins are always kind of around this area. Well, that helps them steer. So the dorsal fin will propel them, but then the pectoral fins help them kind of steer which direction they want to go. And seahorses are very slow swimmers. Remember how we learned in the other book how they'll attach themselves to a piece of seaweed so that they can not have to worry about swimming so far because, yeah, they're not very good swimmers. And then we learned about this, their straw snout, very much like the proboscis of the butterfly. They have no teeth, but they use their mouth like a straw to suck up food. The mouth of the seahorse is very long and thin. The top and bottom jaws are joined to make a tube. They use the tube to suck up little shrimp or other maybe little animals that swim by. Seahorses can move each eye in a different direction, and this helps them search larger areas. So remember how we talked about they can use one to look for food, and they can use the other one to watch for predators, both being very important. Oh, they're all wrapped up. What do seahorses like to wrap up in?
Seaweed.
Seaweed. So they're just like monkeys that they can use their tails to grasp onto things. They'll wrap their tail around plants or coral, and that way they don't float away. And that's actually how they'll sleep too. They wrap up and they sleep. So seahorses a lot of times will blend in with their habitat. So depending on which seahorse is depending on where they will be. So a seahorse in nature will blend in. They change their color to match the rocks or the plants around them. They can also grow bumps or flaps on their skin to look like coral, just like these guys here. Isn't that cool? So they spend a lot of time staying still. They'll hide in the seagrass or coral. And when they do move, they move slowly. So they kind of wait for the food to come to them. Luckily, the water is always moving, so the food can come to them. Oh, super dads. We heard about that. Did you write? Oh, you did write that fact down, yes. Because that's an important fact. The dads are the ones that give birth to the babies. They have the pouch. And this one, now it's interesting. This book says 100 to 200 eggs in their pouch, whereas the other book said up to 2,000. I don't know. I'm kind of going for the 100 to 200. What do you think? I feel like 2,000 is an awfully large number. But again, that's why this is one of those facts where you'd have to do a little more research. We'd have to look online a little bit, maybe see if any other books give us, maybe the one we'll read about the baby fries will give us information to figure out. So that's why you can't always take one source's information. And that's one thing about doing research and doing a research report is you wouldn't just check out one book from the library. Like we like to get between like 5 and 15 books on one subject. And on top of that, we'll still search the internet to see information as well. So the male will take care of the eggs in his belly for about 2 to 4 weeks. That's not very long. That's less than about a month. And once the babies are born, they'll swim away to look after themselves. Later that same day, the female will actually come and give the male more eggs. So he is a busy, busy seahorse taking care of babies. And that's all about those beautiful seahorses. So now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to flip the camera around because these next 2 books are actually going to be good for seeing the other way. And then we will go straight into our drawing of the diagram of a seahorse, which again, I'm excited about because I love seahorses. They're so cute. So Lexus, you are going to read. So go ahead and get that food chewed up. You're going to read The Ocean Animal Seahorses. I'm going to open that up a little bit. And I will turn us around so you can see the pictures a little bit better. If I can get this, the dog's in my lap. So let me see if I can get this without disturbing the dog's slumber. She likes to come up and snuggle sometimes. Do you want to hold her for a minute? So that's our little Polly Puggalina. Isn't she cute?
Pollyanna Puggalina.
Yep, Pollyanna Puggalina. Oh, let me see. We had this really good in there, didn't we? So there's little Polly. Oh, say hi, Polly. All right, we're going to flip it around, Polly.
Seahorses live in the ocean. They are found near coasts.
So do you know what is the coast? What does that mean when it says coasts?
Really? I don't know.
So the coast is actually the edge of where the land meets the water. And they live on around every continental coast except for Antarctica. All the others.
They live in warm water. They are fish and they have fins. They are covered in plants.
Plates. Remember how it talked about the little plates on there? And remember, that's not their skin that's bumpy. That's their bone structure underneath. And their skin is just tight on top.
Mm-hmm. They have tails. Their tails can hold on to coral and other objects.
So look at that. They're holding on tight. Even a piece of seaweed that flies by if they want to go somewhere.
They eat shrimp and plankton.
And all sorts of whatever other little things they can get into the in the water.
Lots of babies are born at once.
Oh, see, now that just says lots. It doesn't give us the number. The one book said 2,000, one said 1 to 200. That just says lots.
There are many different kinds of seahorses.
Yeah, look at these. Look how pretty they are.
Looks like that's the big belly seahorse.
Ooh, and the blue one. Oh, I think that one's the male. It's got babies in its pouch. And look, there's that cute little, I think that was the pygmy one there with the red bumps.
You might see them at a zoo.
Look at how pretty pink that one is, huh? Words to know. Tell us about the words to know.
The fin, plate, tail.
Good. Those are all important.
And
Fish
babies,
words.
18, fish, 10.
And here, well, this is actually the index. Alexis, what is an index? Can you explain to everybody what's an index? Do you remember? The index is like, let's say you want to look up more about the babies. What page would you go to?
18.
Page 18. What if you want to learn about the food they eat?
16.
16. So an index generally would be, it can be actually in the front or the back of the book. A glossary is usually always in the back, where a glossary will give definitions to words. Now I'm going to read the one about babies. So let's see if this book tells us how many babies are in the pouch of the daddy. So this book is all about water babies, the seahorse fry. Look how sweet. Oh my goodness, so cute. Meet Seahorse, some seahorse fry. The two tiny creatures are swimming together. They're using their tails to hold on to each other. The little animals are seahorse babies or fry. They've just been born and are only a few seconds old. So let's do a little, some grammar here. If one baby is a fry, what would two babies be?
Fries.
That's right, fries. So you change the Y to
an I and add ES.
Good. All right. Okay, actually, you're going to have to turn the page for me, Alexis. I only have one hand here.
And I only have one hand.
You only have one hand?
On it.
Yeah. So where do seahorses live? Well, seahorses live in the ocean among grasses and seaweed. There are many different types of seahorses. Lined seahorses live in the places shown on the map. So remember, this is only one kind of seahorse. This is just where one kind lives in North America and South America. But the 47 different kinds of seahorses live around each continent except for Antarctica. Seahorses may look a little like tiny horses, but they are fish. So this one here is the adult lined seahorse in seaweed. You can see, why is he called the aligned seahorse?
Because he has lines.
He does. You can see all the lines on him. Pretty though. All about lined seahorses. Adult lined seahorses can be brown, gray, yellow, orange, or red. But as you saw with many of the others, there were pink, purple, blue, so many green different colors. They get their name because sometimes they have stripes or lines on their skin. Unlike other fish, a seahorse doesn't have a skeleton made up of bones. It has a skeleton of hard, bony sections that are joined together like armor. So this is a good picture of the bony armor under the skin. And then there's some lines that actually are on the seahorse skin. And you can tell this is another male seahorse because it has the pouch. The female does not have a pouch. A seahorse pair. A male and female seahorse will live together their whole lives. Every morning they curl their tails together and dance around in the water. When the seahorses are ready to mate, they'll put their bodies together. The dancing male and female seahorses. Now this one says, oh, I see your fingers were covering it. The female has hundreds of eggs. Oh, that's cool. Someone actually has an exoskeleton of a seahorse. Oh yeah, we'd love it if you could post a pic up on that. Yeah, I think once the live video is over, it'll let you put a pic underneath the video, because that would be awesome to see. I love, love, love the seahorses. Well, here come the babies. So after about 15 days, after the male and female mate, the seahorse fry hatch inside the father's pouch. And then they'll live in the pouch for about 5 days. When they're strong enough to swim, the father bends his body backward and forward, backward and forward. As he pushes his body forward, Here, you're covering up the words a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Tiny seahorse babies pop out of his pouch. Look at them all. Look how cute they are. Tiny seahorses. The father and mother seahorses do not take care of the babies. As soon as the tiny fry leave their father's body, they swim off. The babies look a lot like their, probably says parents, but they are much smaller. Each tiny seahorse is less than half an inch long. So imagine that if you have a ruler, you can look and see half an inch is very small. Life in the ocean. Like adult seahorses, the fry spend their days swimming in the ocean. They use their fins to help them move through the water. So remember, which fin is the one that propels them?
That one.
You remember what that one's called?
Dorothy.
The dorsal fin. Well, which one steers, or which ones? They have two of these. Which ones steer the seahorse? The pectoral fins.
Pectoral.
And they have one on each side of their face, just like their eyes are on one each side. When they rest, seahorses often use their tails to hold on to seaweed or grasses. This stops them from being washed away from their home area by waves. Because as you can imagine, they're very lightweight. So they could easily, and that the waves can be really powerful. They can knock over.
They've knocked over me before.
Right, they've knocked over Daddy before, and Daddy's big. He's 6'4". So he's a big boy, and he gets knocked over sometimes with the waves. Seahorse food. Oh, look at the little snout. This one's a really cute picture of their snout.
It looks like the dog in that one picture with the American Girl shirt on.
Yeah. Seahorse adults and fry eat tiny ocean animals like shrimp. To get food, the seahorse waits for its meal to swim by. Remember how it can use one eye to look for the meal and one eye to watch for predators? Then it sucks in the animal using its snout like a vacuum cleaner. An adult seahorse will eat about 50 shrimp in a day. The growing baby seahorse eats thousands of shrimp in a day. That's a lot. So it's amazing how the adult will eat 50, but yet the baby eats thousands. Growing up, the seahorse fry grow bigger and bigger. It takes about 8 months for them to become adults. But once they are grown up, they find partners and they become a seahorse pair. Remember, they'll stay with that mate for life. Then the young seahorses will have babies of their own. Isn't that sweet? So here's the glossary again. It has the armor. What is armor?
A hard covering that protects the body.
What's a fry?
Baby fish.
Yeah, and specifically a baby seahorse, right? I think some other fish are called fry too. Hatch.
To break out of an egg.
Mate.
To come together and have young.
Pouch.
Part of a male seahorse's body where the fries hatch from their egg.
Skeleton.
Skeleton. The bones of an animal that protects and supports body.
Very good.
That is freaky.
That kind of sometimes skeletons, they can be freaky, but if you use them a little bit more science-wise, it's kind of cool to see. So we're going to use this seahorse right here for our guide for our drawing here. So as you can see, there's a lot of bumps. And when you draw your seahorse, you can decide, do you want to have more of the big spikes? Do you want smaller spikes? There's a lot of different ways to do that. So you're going to draw on that side. I'm going to grab my paper. So here we are. She's got all her lots of great facts that she wrote about her seahorses. And I'm going to start on my drawing. So we're going to take kind of the top here, and I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a bump instead of a smooth line, and then I'm going to add some spikes a little bit later. So let's see. Let's draw, starting here at the top. We're going to kind of go down. And then I'm going to draw the tail. Kind of twirled around. So I'm kind of just wiggling my pencil as I draw my line to kind of give it that bumpy look. And then I am going to go back and make some bigger spikes. Now the head, this is a little tricky. So let's see.
Which is exactly why mine looks a little weird. I'm
going to make its snout kind of bigger here. Oops. And then it kind of goes in kind of like a horse jaw there. has a skinnier neck, and then the belly kind of sticks out. Even on the female, the belly will stick out a little bit, and then the male has an extra big belly. And then down here, right at the bottom, you have a little fin here, and that one's called the anal fin. So we can go ahead and label that one. Anal fin, A-N-A-L-F-I-N, anal fin. And then back here, we have our dorsal fin. Remember, the dorsal fin, that is the fin that is used to propel the seahorse through the water. So we'll label this one D-O-R-S-A-L, fin, F-I-N. So there's its dorsal fin. And then I'm going to add just a few little spikes on its back before I draw the other fins there. So I'm going to kind of make mine a little bit spikier. So in a sense, I'm kind of just making some waves, really. And then I'm going to draw its little pectoral fins here. So the pectoral fins are actually what steer the seahorse. So I'm going to label up here, pectoral fin, P-E-C-T-O-R-A-L, pectoral fin. You know, I was just noticing is it doesn't really show where the gills are. That we didn't see that on any of the books, did we? I just noticed. So I'm actually going to look that one up to write the gills because I don't know. I would have guessed maybe the gills are right here, but that's one thing actually that none of the books told us about was the gills. And then the eyeballs, you're only going to draw one eye because as you remember, their eyes are one on either side of the body. So one's on this side, one's on the other, and that way they can actually look in two different directions. I'm going to draw this snout a little better. And then we'll also label the snout. Snout is S-N-O-U-T. We should go ahead and label the tail too. So we'll label the tail down here. And then when we get done here, I'm actually going to look up where exactly their gills are. Like I said, I assume they're back here.
I think they're actually right around here.
Yeah, but that'll be interesting because actually none of our books showed us, and I'm honestly not sure. Oh, and then at the top, I always like to label what our creature is. So here's our seahorse. Remember, seahorse is all one word. Seahorse. And if you want to get really artistic, you could actually draw some seaweed for your seahorse if you want to. Just some simple leaves of seaweed. If you want to. You could even draw some maybe wrapped around its tail. I don't really want to cover my words, so I'm going to kind of go around my words a little bit. But there, we can even add some beautiful seaweed. And then if you want to, you can add the plates and stuff too. Because if you notice, even though they're all very different in their coloring, they have a similar plate and bone structure underneath. So I'm actually going to kind of, and it looks a little bit like this. So I'm going to draw one there, and then you kind of have one plate that kind of goes down here. And then they kind of connect a little bit with lines. So I'm just going to draw some lines here to kind of connect them.
That's scales.
So there, and then even on their belly, they have like the lines, the plates on their belly. So actually we could label those too. That was another thing that they talked about was the plates. So let's write plates, which those are all over the skin of the seahorse. And even the tail, we can add some plates on the tail. And look at our cute seahorse. Let's see your seahorse. Oh, that's nice too. Very good. I like how you have the very dramatic spikes on yours. Very nice. Flip us back around. Well, thanks for joining us. I know she's still eating her snack. Thank you for joining us for learning about seahorses, my very favorite fish. Oh, look, you can see there's Emerson and there's Ellie, our elf, in the corner there. They wanted to join us today too. And we'll see you next week. Actually, we are last week of fish. I know we have 2 sections left in our book, but we're actually going to be talking about the coral reef. And then we will kind of extend that so that you can add in your own part of the coral reef on the last one. And that way we'll finish up before Christmas and start birds in January. Well, thank you so much for joining us on learning about seahorses. Bye. I'm sorry, you add an E. I'm sorry, you add an S at the end.
S.
I know before confuse everybody. That's right. So seahorse or seahorses, that's one word. Even though it's a compound word, it's one word put together. The cute, oh, there comes the dog again. There's all the little seahorse fries. Oh my goodness, aren't they cute? So this one, again, doesn't really tell us. It did tell us about, was it 100 that it said about the amount of eggs? No, I can't remember. If it said hundreds of eggs. So again, the other one said 1 to 200. I don't think it's quite 2,000. Here, honey, can you hold the book for me, please? Sorry. Here comes the babies. Oh, we already read this. Sorry. About the father seahorse. Oh, and this is another great book I was going to show everybody too. We're not going to read it because this is actually more, honestly, on the adult level of education. But it's got beautiful, beautiful pictures and tells about, I just want to show you the largest seahorse and the smallest one. So here we have, this is the largest one, called a big belly seahorse. And as we said, they're average 12 inches, but they can actually grow to be up to, or the largest was 13 3/4 of an inch. And then here's the smallest one. This one is the pygmy thorny seahorse, which again doesn't even grow to be quite an inch. It's not even an inch. And that's actually a large scale picture of it. It's got a lot of other pretty ones in here too, where I'll just kind of flip through real quick. It has a lot of neat pictures of all the different kinds of seahorses. And look at like this one, you can see how it has more spikes to it. So if you want to draw your seahorse with more spikes like that, you could. Or you can make it a little smoother. And then there was a really pretty pink one I wanted to share. That must have been up here somewhere. There it is. Look how pretty that one is. This one's called the thorny seahorse. And you can see, look at those thorns. But such a pretty pale pink color. And it has a little bit of turquoise even on there, on the spikes. Isn't that beautiful? This one is, and it's got the little maps. This one's over by like Southern Asia, New Zealand, and then part of Africa. And then you can see Madagascar. There's a lot of these beautiful thorny seahorses around there. But this is a nice book for, just for even looking at pictures. So even if but it's definitely not 3rd grade level. It's for older kids or adults even that want to learn more about seahorses. So that's one thing I tell Alexis I enjoy about homeschooling is that I get to learn so many cool things too along with her.